I just had a really interesting conversation with Leon Thomas, because this is someone who has been in the spotlight since he was like a little kid. He played Simba in The Lion King when he was 10 years old, and then shortly after that, like a couple of years after that, became a gigantic megastar when he was on that show Victorious with Ariana Grande. You would think that someone like that would crave the spotlight forever, but he's so pragmatic and he's so practical that he spent some years producing for others. He produced that massive tune, Snooze, for SZA.
When I'm with you, how can I snooze and miss the moment? You just too important. Nobody do body like you do. I can't lose.
He's just an amazing dude. He has some really great stories. A story about, I'll say like the PG-13 story about watching his dog, and how that led to this big song, Mud.
She said, take your time, what's the rush? I said, baby, I'm a dog, I'm a mutt. I'm a dog, I'm a mutt.
How are you?
What's up, man? I'm doing really good.
Thanks for being here. You just got in from New York?
Yeah, just got in from New York. It's been a pretty hectic tour, but I'm really glad to sit down and kick it with you today.
I'm happy to have you come to Toronto very often.
Not as often as I'd like to. I got a lot of collaborators out here from Boy Wonder and Drake and that whole
they're pretty
crew,
good.
so.
They're all right.
Yeah, I mean they're like epic guys. I think the last time I was out here hanging, I was working with Boy Wonder.
Yeah.
So it's been some time.
Six Grammy nominations, including Album of the Year.
Yeah, man.
Congratulations. How does that feel?
Surreal. Sometimes even hearing it back, it sounds like a fever dream. But I'm really excited that my peers are recognizing some of the hard work that me and my co-collaborators are doing. Man, I feel like we're making some really special music, and it's nice to feel seen.
Is it like the draft? You know how like with the draft, you imagine like the artist or like the football player and his agent and everyone is watching TV and they see like where. Is it like that when you get nominated for a Grammy? Are you sitting there being like, wait, one and then two and
I had the TV off first off. I woke up late. So I woke up to finding out that I was nominated for 2 at first, and I was like, man, it's such a blessing. And I was texting my mom, and the nominations just kept rolling in. And a part of me was like, should I turn the TV on so I can watch this live? But I was like, that's too nerve-wracking. I think I'm going to just sit and be grounded in this moment. And I luckily, had my video content guy there, and he was like recording it all. And
you
looking
didn't
back
turn
at
the TV
that footage,
on? You didn't do it?
Nah, man. I think if anything, it was just more so just a wave of emotion and gratitude, but also a focused attitude of feeling like, okay, let's get to work. I know this comes with a lot of responsibility.
It was really interesting to go through your story in anticipation of this interview and learn more about you and where you come from. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed learning about your folks, learning about your parents. Can you talk to me a little bit about them?
Yeah, man. I mean, I like to say I come from a tribe of musicians, very creative people. My stepfather, he was a guitarist and bass player who toured with a band called High Five and, collaborated with Salt and Pepper and played on some records with B.B. King. My mom was in a band with him growing up, a club date band that opened up for some legends like Shaka Khan and Earth, Wind & Fire and stuff like that.
Where would they play? It's around New York?
So, in New York, they were the resident band for this club called Lola's, which at the time was like a really cool hot spot for a lot of actors and, cool kids to come through. You could eat some food and, watch a live show. And, growing up, I used to go to their shows and do homework in the back and, wrap cables after the show. So music has been such a big part of who I am. My grandfather was also an opera singer.
John Anthony, right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't just an opera singer, but he starred on Broadway in Porgy and Bess, and he was also one of the very rare black opera singers in the 1960s.
Yeah.
When did you first understand that he was not just your grandfather, but he was important?
From the beginning, because
Really?
he would tell anybody who would listen. He was such an amazing, charismatic man, and he always, was very just confident about his contribution to this world, and I love that he carried that confidence. It even also gave me the energy that I have today, where it's not about being cocky or anything, but just like, letting people know, I work hard.
Did you hear him sing growing up? Did he sing?
Oh yeah. You know, around the time, you know, when I was born and everything, he was really transitioning into just singing at churches and stuff like that, which was really cool. But seeing him lead choirs, and he had this big baritone voice, you know, which is real cool. My grandmother was actually a beautiful singer too. She never did it professionally, but she had a beautiful soprano voice. And
was she singing in the church? Too?
Yeah, in the church choirs and everything. So, you know, hearing them do duets was always really, really beautiful because it's such a juxtaposition between the low baritone and that high soprano.
But it's not even just the performance in your family that I find interesting, but it's the way that people thought about music. And your parents were part of this group called the Black Rock Coalition.
Yeah.
So the Black Rock Coalition has nothing to do with Black Rock. It has nothing to do with the company. It has to do with the idea that in the early days, well, rock and roll comes from black music. And that had been lost sort of post Elvis Presley.
Exactly.
And you move into the 60s and 70s and 80s as hip hop comes in, as R&B comes in.
Right.
There are fewer, well, because R&B had been there for a while, but as hip hop comes in, there were fewer and fewer black rock musicians at all. So talk to me about this. And they were involved in a group in New York.
Yeah, well, see, you know, my stepdad, he was in a group called, I think it was called Man Child. He was in a lot of bands, so it's kind of hard to keep up. But Man Child, I think, was the one that was a part of that coalition. And, you know, Living Color at that time, they were doing like really amazing records with hard guitars and, you know, crazy drum fills with Will Calhoun and all those guys. So, yeah, I mean, you know, for me, knowing that my pops was playing his CBGBs and, you know, rocking his Jerry curl, but also playing with his teeth, let me know that I could always be free in my expression. And I carry that on.
Does it teach you something about just the way they would think about music? It wouldn't just be that music is about expression in the music, but like there needs to be some thought given into the way that black people carry music and the way that the black heritage of this music. Does that have an effect on you, you think, as you come up as a musician?
Yeah. I mean, there's a legacy attached to, you know, these melodies and rhythms, you know, and going back to responsibility, you know, I think it's important to pay homage to those before you and realize that, you know, it's important. It's important what we're doing. You know, I think music is a very special thing that can do more than just entertain. It can heal. So I think my parents always had that energy of responsibility and knowledge. You know, my mom, she really studies music. My stepdad, he studies music. He'll tell you random facts about all these records and how they were made because the process is just as important as the output.
The story I heard is that when you got cast on Broadway as young Simba in The Lion King, you were so maybe intimidated or so your family was so musical and you didn't necessarily exist in that same way with them that they didn't know you could sing until you got cast on Broadway. How is that possible? Is that true? Yeah,
it was true. I mean, you know, I think the only times I was singing before my audition was at my biological dad's church because I would spend weekends with him at his Seventh-day Adventist church, and I would sing with him. Sometimes he would bring me up there to sing, you know, a song with him, and even back then the church was like, oh, you can actually, Leon can sing, you know?
Yeah.
But I never really sang for my mom like that until we had an opportunity for me to audition for The Lion King, and as we were rehearsing for the audition, she was like, okay. But what really surprised her was after the rehearsals, after I got the role, and you know, watching me live up there for the first time. You know, my first performances were live on Broadway, which is pretty crazy, but that was the aha moment that no, he's got a gift.
I saw The Lion King here in Toronto for the first time. It was the live one, and when I saw the young Simba, I thought to myself, that's a grind. 8 or 9 shows a week. That's a grind for a 35-year-old actor or 25-year-old actor.
Let alone somebody who's 10. You know.
How did you find the grind of it?
It was a game for me, to be completely honest. You know, it was a way to get out of school early on a Wednesday because we had a matinee, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of just saw it as a really cool opportunity to just express myself and have some fun. And I think the flow of how they do the show, they really spend a lot of time making it a comfortable place for a kid to exist because they've had so many young Simbas and young Nalas prior to me.
Yeah.
They have a system, and we've seen some amazing actors and actresses come from being previously a young
Oh,
Simba
really?
or Nala Caleb McLaughlin, who's in Stranger Things.
Was he young Simba?
Was a young Simba, yeah. Trevor Jackson,
What?
yeah, man. There's actually more that I'm like blanking on right now. But,
Did,
yeah,
did you feel like you were doing something different than all the other kids in your school, though?
I feel like when you're younger, kids don't necessarily understand the validity of Broadway. So explaining that to them in the early days, they didn't really understand. It wasn't until I started doing like movies where things got pretty hectic at school, and where people were like, okay, wow, you're really doing something, you know.
Well, the TV show took off. I mean, the Victorious TV show, and what I'm trying to do is here, I'm trying to build to like you doing things as a young artist with and for others, and sort of the moment of I'm going to start doing some stuff for me. But to build to that, I got to talk about Victorious. So for Victorious,
Absolutely, yeah.
one of the biggest kids shows of all time.
Yeah.
Did bigger numbers than American Idol?
Yeah. I mean, it was really great ratings, and
You were on like cereal boxes. You were
cereal boxes, you know, Happy Meals, all that. And it was a really cool opportunity to once again entertain my peers. You know, I was 16 when we started this show. And prior to that, I hadn't really done anything that was like super epic. I mean, I did August Rush with Robin Williams, which people could go see in like theaters, but it was like a niche movie. So like for this to be out there in the world gave me my first taste of feeling like international fame, which was definitely a whirlwind.
Tell me what you most remember about Robin Williams.
He was really funny,
Yeah.
and then he was also really quiet sometimes. But I think
Right, I've heard that about him.
the biggest thing is I just love the way that he would roast people. You know,
Really?
like when we were on set, he would roast Terrence Howard, but not in a bad way. It was like not in a bullying way, but just like joking.
What did he say?
You know,
Did he
like
say a
joking.
little, yeah.
Nah, you know, I don't want to misquote him.
Of course.
I
I
don't want to
understand.
misquote him
Yeah.
or kill the joke.
Okay,
but
I understand.
you know, the guy just was just so quick on his toes. You know,
Yeah.
he was always really nice to my little sister too. Yeah.
So when you were on the Victorious show, so like I said, it was one of the most watched shows in Nickelodeon history. You were on cereal boxes, launched the careers of folks like Ariana Grande, Evan Jogia, and you. I've talked to enough people who have gone through that know that I know it's a double-edged sword. As you mentioned, like it was so big, but I also know there's another side to it. So I wonder if you could tell me the one great thing about being on a big hit kid show like that, and maybe one challenging thing about it.
All right, the great thing is that I was able to support and move my family from New York and you know, bring them out to LA, and they could start a new journey, which I thought was really beautiful for them.
You were able to help your family out?
Yeah, I was able to help my family out, which I thought was such a beautiful thing. I mean, it's the kind of thing that I always prayed for, you know? I think the negative side of it was that I wasn't necessarily as wealthy as I was famous at that time. So, you know, I wasn't making like crazy amounts of money or anything. So I think, you know, when you're really famous, but you're still trying to figure it out in your early 20s, people may have a different, you know, preconceived notion on like what you can do or how you should be living life or if I should have security or things like that. But I was really just trying to figure it out like everybody else at that time.
I've talked to people like that who've told me that like when they got famous without having money, people would say you need to have security or you have this, and you're like, I can't afford it.
It's literally not possible, fam. So, you know, I think it was an interesting thing of building everything back up again, you know, and really taking the time to, you know, learn music because I knew it was something I was really passionate about, but also keep the lights on and do what I had to do by doing some TV and film in the interim. But I was really writing a lot of songs and producing to learn just as much as I wanted to perform.
What's the story I heard that when you were working with some director, might have been Catherine Bigelow or something like that. You were, and then that was sort of a nothing to her, but like there was sort of a moment around there. Maybe it was you had to get your dreads cut or something like that.
Yeah.
And that is sort of one of the big transitions, big moments for you to. I have spent my life playing playing characters. I need to do some work for me. What's that story?
Well, you know, the role was set in the 1960s, and I wasn't allowed to know what character I would play because the script was like top secret. And, you know, the only thing was if I wanted the role, I would have to cut my dreadlocks, you know. And it was a tough thing for me because it was a calling card to my brand.
Yeah.
But I felt like, this was an opportunity to work with an Oscar award-winning director. Let me make it happen. But I think it was also the catalyst for me feeling like, you know what? All right, after this one, I'm going to really, really focus in on this music thing, because I need to use this rebirth as an opportunity to even build back up my new musical identity.
Well, hold on. Why was that the catalyst to that?
Because I kind of felt like right after Detroit, I did a big show called Insecure with Issa Rae.
Huge show. Issa's been here.
Yeah. Issa's amazing.
Yeah.
That was the real catalyst. Knowing that her demographic would also listen to my music, I knew that was the window of time I had to really have a shot at being able to market something without being signed to a major.
Yeah.
And at least start the process of being seen as more than just that kid who was on that show who's acting and doing music.
But it seems like you don't try to grab the spotlight. Right? You had the spotlight for so long as a child star and as a young actor.
Yeah.
When you start making music, it's not like you come out right out of the gate as big star, big streaming numbers, Leon Thomas. Like the early days, it's a lot of behind the scenes work. It's a lot of production, a lot of songwriting. Was that intentional to stay out of the spotlight?
Not necessarily intentional. I think it was just a byproduct of, me trying to find the right team to really help me navigate the responsibilities that come with a major label deal.
Yeah.
I went through, quite a few managers to get to where I am now when it comes to my team. And I think around that time when I dropped Genesis, I was just really figuring it out. I had somebody that was helping me with day-to-day. I was independent, but I had a distribution deal, and we were able to at least get things placed on the radio. I mean, I went top 20 on the urban charts at that time with my song Favorite. Yeah. And that was like independent, and to me it felt like, okay, I'm not tripping. Like, people actually like my music. Like, this is something that can work. We just need to make sure that every aspect of the brand around it is able to move, in the same way the music does.
I guess what I find interesting is that most people who have a lot of spotlight and a lot of fame on them, they don't necessarily go to songwriting and produce. So we're going to talk about your own music in a second, but I want to talk about the SZA tune first. Yeah. Like, not a lot of people from the spotlight, they kind of need it. You know what I mean? They kind of need that validation. Not all of them would go behind the scenes and write songs for others and produce for others.
Well, my mom, she, we were talking in my early 20s, like, late teens. And she was like, so you're going to go to college? And I was like, nah, I'm working with this amazing artist, Babyface. That's my college.
Yeah, pretty good.
That's my college. Yeah. Like that's how I'm going to learn how to not just speak through music for myself, but also to always have a catalog. And one thing I knew about him was that there was a lot of artists around his age that I was meeting that were driving pretty nice Benzes. He had a Bentley. And it's because he had catalog. And I read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm on my second catalog now. And the work that I did in my 20s may not have paid off with a super shiny spotlight, but it's going to work out.
You're on your second catalog, and then you sold your first catalog?
No. I split them up now.
Okay.
From artist to songwriting.
Oh yeah, okay. I understand. I mean, learning from Babyface is there's no better education you can have, really.
It's publishing is a huge deal, and starting my own publishing company now, and but having the catalog to do so, I think, was a very important piece. I also played Sam Cooke in a play called One Night in Miami.
Yeah, I saw the movie version of that.
And he also had a publishing company and understood publishing in a real way and was writing songs not just for himself but other people. It's a way to create leverage and strength outside of just kind of being a worker bee,
Sorry, I should also point out for people who aren't in the music industry to know what we're talking about here.
I'm sorry,
I'm thinking about myself here.
Speaking jargon.
A catalog means like a catalog of songs that you have worked on, you have produced, you have written. And the more songs you have in your catalog, the more attention you get. It's a repertoire of work, but also companies and record companies will come to you and want access to your catalog. Exactly. They want access to your music. And it's hard to think of a better song to have in your catalog than this one.
I can't lose when I'm with you. How can I snooze and miss the moment? You just too boy. Nobody do body like you do. I can't lose when I'm with you.
That's SZA with Snooze, produced by my guest, Leon Thomas. The song spent 70 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. It has 1.7 billion streams on Spotify as of this morning. What goes through your mind hearing that?
I didn't know that number. That's really cool.
What about the song? What did you think when I was playing the song?
Man, so after we made the song with SZA, you know, she wrote that beautiful song. You know, we did the track. I remember her walking out, and we were acting real cool. We were like, all right, you have a good night. She walks out. My boy Chris starts jumping on the couch. He's like, we got one. And it's so funny because it took a while. It took a while for the song to come out. And at the time, I was shopping for a new publishing deal, and I played him this like little recording I had of the demo, like from like a voice memo that I had in my pocket. And you know, I was saying, I really feel like this song's gonna be special. That publisher was like, it's all right. And I remember looking at her and thinking like, man, she can't hear what I hear. And when it dropped, the cultural impact that it had, the way that people felt it, was so special, man. And that's all, you know, attuned to SZA's pen and melodic choices on it. I think she really, really captured a feeling.
How did you do it? Did you have chords first? Did you have the?
Yeah, we had like some chords first that a friend of mine, BLK, worked on and sent over. So it was just like some piano chords, and then I started playing bass and guitar over it. And Chris added some drums, and Babyface came in and added some real cool slide R&B guitar vibes, you know, and classic format for us too. It was like really helping, you know, Coach Carter the situation. And then by the time SZA walked in, she was like, "What's that dope beat?" And she just took it into the other room and wrote what we know as Snooze now.
Hopefully, I want you to take this in the right way. Did you have any challenge with people taking you seriously as a songwriter, as a producer, because you were a child star?
Nah, because I changed my name as a songwriter and a producer. I was going under the Rascals.
Yeah.
And
was that intentional?
Yeah, they wouldn't know until we were midway through a session, and they would stare at me for like 10 minutes and be like, "Oh, you're the wow." And by that point, I had already proved that, you know, I was probably better than the other producers they were working with at the time.
But you were aware of it. You were like,
Yeah.
I want to have some distance between my name when these people meet me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
That way I could mosey around hip hop if I wanted to as well, and do records that were kind of outside of like the cookie cutter energy, you know.
That song won your first Grammy for Best R&B Song. I heard you say this was a big moment for you, but even bigger for your parents.
Absolutely.
How did they react?
My mom was so proud. You know, the conversations that we had, you know, directly after the award show at a little private gathering, she was just really proud of my decision to stay true to my perspective. You know, a lot of people thought I was crazy for going behind the scenes for as long as I did. And she was definitely like, all right, it's time to just do your artist thing now, man.
A lot of people thought you were crazy for going.
They're like, what are you doing? Like get out there and just throw things out there. But I knew there was more development I had to do, and I'm glad that I took that time. And she, you know, validated me for taking the time that I did, because now she's seeing how I've been able to, you know, utilize this leverage in my advantage.
I should say this is a Canadian show. And you've worked with Drake, as you mentioned at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like when you work with Drake, it just for having a cut with him, having your name on a credit, it takes you to another level.
It does.
And I've heard you say something called the Drake effect.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. I mean, especially right around then. I mean, I think a lot of the executives, if they know that you're working in his, you know, circle, immediately feel like, all right, because he always picks what's next, you know. Feel like, well, maybe there must be something with you. And around that time was when I started like figuring out how I was gonna start releasing my own music as an artist, because I knew that Drake effect was real. Even if I was just behind the boards, I knew I could sing and play on my demos, which were my first album, Electric Dusk, and get in the door and figure it out later.
Was there any part of you that was nervous after all that to put out your own music under your own name?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Nervous? No. I think the biggest part for me was just I knew that you only get so many shots in the major label system before you get quote unquote shelved.
Yeah. Kind of put away.
So yeah, put away, and then you gotta fight on social media to like create a moment so that they, you know, remember you again. So my biggest thing was I needed to use that album as a driver for attention the songs will come, and I was right.
People who get really big, really young, like the way you did, think that things happen magically. You know what I mean? Because I talked to friends of mine who got famous who were like 14 and 15, and they have a hard time building it themselves because everything was kind of done for them when they were 14 and 15 years old.
No, that's real.
What I find interesting about you is you could have been that way. Like you were 10 years old when you got the Lion King. You got that.
No,
I mean, you auditioned, but it got given. You know, and then Nickelodeon. A lot of that stuff just happens. It is very interesting to hear how practical about the work you are for someone who has been in the industry this long. Do you know what I mean by that?
Thank you, man. I definitely attribute a lot of that to me watching a lot of new artists come in, to Babyface's studio and, have the fresh deal, and they're ordering expensive meals, and they got a new chain on, and they don't really necessarily get that, like, the job isn't done yet. Like, you got to put it out, and it's not even just about putting it out. Now you got to market it. You got to hit the ground running. Radio's important. Touring's important. Your brand, your merch, all of it's important. This is a business. You are a Coca-Cola, a McDonald's, if you really treat it that way.
You learned it by watching others.
I was watching everybody kind of come in. Some would soar for a couple years and, fall off or
child
or just
stars
not
too,
get
man.
it.
People who came up in the child star system. I'm sure you've seen the share of them also go.
I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I think a lot of it is we kind of forget the brand aspect of it all.
Let's listen to some music here. Take a listen to this.
She said, take your time, what's the rush? I said, baby, I'm a dog, I'm a mutt. She said, take your time, what's the rush? I said, baby, I'm a dog, I'm a mutt. I'm a dog, I'm a mutt.
This little bit of Mutt, the title track from Leon Thomas's album that's currently nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammys. Leon's in the studio with me right now. Talk to me a little bit about this song. I heard a story that you were I heard sort of two stories around this song, or maybe it was two stories around this record. One was about your dog, watching your dog, and a love you had for your dog.
Yeah.
Let's just start with that one.
All right, so I'm gonna do the PG version. All right, so
I know. Okay. How about PG-13? PG-13.
PG-13. All right, so essentially, I locked myself away in my crib for 3 weeks, and I got new paintings. I got some new furniture, like this really nice table, and some artwork. And one of the paintings that I got, I noticed that there was something weird on the painting, and I was sitting on my floor, and I was kind of microdosing around that time too. So
PG-13, spectacular work there.
Yeah,
That's great.
and I was looking at it, and it was just kind of peculiar to me. So I'm on the floor sitting down, looking at this painting. I look over to my right, and my dog and my cat were fighting. And in that moment, my dog made a face after my cat hit him with a little skibbity pap, a little slap that reminded me of myself. And I was trying to find the title for my album. They say after a while, your pets kind of start looking like you. And for the first time, I had kind of seen myself within my dog. And I felt like it was a really cool way it was a very serendipitous moment because I was watching the Elvis biopic around that time. He had the hound dog.
Yeah.
I had just worked with George Clinton right before that. He had Atomic Dog. There was all of these dog references just entering into my life. And it just felt like a eureka moment. I can't explain it any other way than that. And the next day, I wrote the hook to it, and now we had the song.
Why did you relate to? Who did you when you saw the cat hit the dog? Right.
The cat hit the dog, and my dog made a face. It was almost like she was reprimanding him, get
out of here,
get out of here. And he was like, oh, And it kind of reminded me of the face you might make, when you're doing wrong, when a girl's telling you boy, get right, And it's that element of control. I felt like all of it could be explained throughout all of the concepts from my songs in a way that was really cool, because I think relationships are, a battle for control and, trying to figure out that sometimes the absence of that is what actually makes it work. And I felt like Mutt was a great way to kind of encompass all of that.
Still on the dog, the other story I heard is that you woke up one day and there was someone in your apartment?
Oh, well, that was just from one of the bars. So me and my co-writer, we have a text thread where we're sending bars back and forth, and then I'll take some of those bars that he'll put together and I'll turn it into a dope song. And one of the stories that I was just telling him like randomly was that I woke up one night and there was a dude on my couch just sitting there.
You got into your house?
I have no idea how this man got into my house, but it's funny. Back to my dog, I said, boy, get him. My dog runs out of the room like Lassie, charging at this dude, and he runs out of the crib. You know, my dog's pretty big. You know, it's a German Shepherd.
What's dog's name?
Terry.
Terry. Why Terry?
He just looks like a Terry,
All
man.
right.
He's got a cute face.
I thought it was like, Terry Brad. You know,
Nah, man,
that
like
looks...
he literally looks like a Terry.
That's
I mean,
so
you meet
funny
him, you
to
see his
me.
face, you'll be, it's a Terry.
And he chased that. How did that guy get in there?
I don't know, man. It must have been unlocked or something. I don't know, but he was just in there, and it was just a funny bar that ties into one of the lines of the song.
The expectations, even up to this point, are clear around like you're making big R&B music. We're going to talk in a second about how there are these expectations on you that you're reviving R&B, you're carrying the weight of this genre on your shoulder. Then this record, folks, this EP is like almost like a psychedelic rock record. Talk to me about that. Did that feel like you were taking? Neil Young has this line in his book where he says, "I found myself drifting towards the mainstream, so I turned the car into the ditch."
Nah, you know what it is? I just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off. I felt like, even for Kendrick, after Good Kid, Mad City, he had To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
It was important for people to understand that I'm an artist and I'm going to make music that speaks to my soul early, like soon. Because I think if, we kind of play into boxes, if you allow people to build those walls, that's what you're going to live in.
You were getting put into what box?
No, there was no walls there.
Right.
I was just making sure that there weren't any.
Right.
And I think it's important if you listen to my catalog that I always have one or two, which is me spoon feeding that side of myself. And I think for the mainstream, it's important for them to hear me, play live instruments and for that to be the focal point, at least for right now in this time period where I was about to go on tour. I wanted music that would translate to the stage in a beautiful way, and it's so cool seeing it, from my brain and in the studio to now rocking out 6,000 people, jumping up and down, catching a vibe with me. That energy exchange is so important, and it couldn't have happened if I didn't put this out.
Can we listen to some of it?
For sure.
Keep it going, Sam. How do you count this? Is it 9? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1? What?
2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It's just it's in 4.
It's just the pockets is crazy. Yeah.
Hold on, keep it going. Keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I thought the downbeat was somewhere else.
Nah, it's right there. It's right there.
I'm embarrassed. They're gonna cut that out so I know what I'm
talking
about.
Not at all, man. Not at all, man. You cool. Shout out to my boy Rob. He's a musical genius, and he played every instrument on that record. That's one man playing all of those instruments.
What a drummer too.
Right?
Oh,
he's
man.
He's a beast, man.
So like on this EP, you said you wanted to make this EP like Jimi Hendrix made music with live instruments, with communal jam sessions.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a time where I would be seen as like, okay, boomer a bit for asking this question.
All right.
But I always felt it. And now I feel like maybe we're starting to enter a world in which you can ask it again.
Okay.
What does making music on real instruments, held by real people, do that music made on a laptop in your bedroom maybe can't? Just for you, in terms of how you feel when you make it. What's the difference to you? Any?
Yeah, I think music has always been communal. It's something that we share, we all love, we all have opinions on. Mm-hmm. And when you're making it with your friends, and these are my real friends, like we hang out, we do dinner, they know my mama, like these are my homies. So the kind of love for music that we have is really special when you put all of our brains together And that was the beautiful part about it. I felt like our love for music could really shine through in a collaborative way, that if we were just kind of like finding splice loops and, you know, programming drums around it, wouldn't have necessarily had the same effect, at least for this project.
So just make sure I understand that, like, and by the way, like, some of my favorite music that's ever been made, I'm not one of these people who...
It's just about the process,
yeah,
is
like,
all I'm saying.
I don't want to sound like the person who's saying, like, some of my favorite music in history was made on laptops in bedrooms.
Yeah.
And if I'm understanding you correctly, there's a different energy when you're with people you trust, people you really care about.
Yeah.
You're holding things that can make noise. And, and that trust bleeds into the to the experience of making music together.
I'm a true believer that music is energy, you know, not to sound too hippy-dippy, but it's like, it's energy. So if you have multiple people playing at the same time, there's like a different kind of energy. That energy of discovery, which is sometimes recorded in the process, I think holds a different frequency when people are listening back to it. It's almost like the excitement lives in the actual sound itself. And it's how you play when you're discovering something, like, oh no, let's try it, like, you know. And musicians, when you make music with the same people for a long time, there's like a one brain thing going on where you can like, you can kind of like look at each other and be like, we're going, and everybody's going there. And it's something that we found on this record that I thought was so cool. And I'm glad that God gave me the opportunity to be able to create in this way, because it's not cheap, but it was definitely fun.
This has been an amazing year, as I mentioned. The Grammy nominations, Stevie Wonder showed up at one of your shows. One of the things that you talk about, maybe this is a good way to close things down, one of the ways people talk about you is they talk about how you have revived R&B, or how you're keeping it alive. First off, I wanted to know, was R&B in trouble that would need reviving?
I don't think so. I just feel like genres waver when it comes to public attention.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that people are paying attention to R&B again. I think sometimes it's really hard, especially when the attention is wavering on the other end and people are paying attention to other genres. Sometimes the genre will try its best to acclimate to other things in order to be seen and heard again. But I'm glad that now, you have a SZA who's topping the charts and selling out stadiums. It just means that popular success is possible within this genre, and I really look up to her. A lot of the people who are just like really selling out those seats, because I mean, the sales of the records is really important, but can you get people in those seats?
Yeah,
that's the real fan.
Do you feel any pressure when people talk to you about, like, reviving or keeping being one of the keepers of R&B? Do you feel any pressure, any responsibility?
I do feel a sense of not pressure at all, but it's just like, I really want to do well. And, the only person I'm in competition with is myself. So I'm just really doing my best to, like, really work hard to always be at my best. And I'm going to keep doing that.
You made a great EP. You made a great couple of records. I'm so excited for you at the Grammys, man.
Man, thanks, man.
I really appreciate you coming and talking to us. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, bro. Thank you, man.